It is a Sunday, and welcome to it. It is another live edition of the Sports Rush. We're working on getting this thing all set. Somehow, some internal settings on my particular laptop got messed up, so I had to get those all squared away, but we've got it all working now, and we're glad to have you on board with us. Now, for those of you that are just new and joining, what we do is we don't do the Monday through Friday show, and so every weekend we take an hour or so to kind of recap everything that's been happening, give you our opinions on some of the top stories for Indiana and Northeast Indiana, and you found the right place. Whether you're watching us right now on YouTube, on X, or on Facebook, we do ask you to check out our YouTube channel and get there and subscribe, because it will send you alerts when we go live and when we have content for you to enjoy. And this past week's been a really busy week for me. We're counting down to the start of the high school football season. Also had the Tin Caps at home, so that occupied some time. But the bottom line is I've had very little time to actually jump on and talk about some of the big happenings in sports, and so it's kind of exciting to be able to do that because, I just haven't been able to. The guy who usually joins me to be able to do it is joining us right now. It's Adam Lundy. And, Adam, I keep waiting. I thought maybe I'd open up the box there and I'd see you sitting next to Taylor Swift. I guess we're not so lucky.
No, not exactly. How's my connection, first of all? It's showing low bars, but
Look like you're fine. You're not freezing up or anything. How is mine?
Your audio sounds a little hot to me, but other than that,
well,
you're okay.
I had to play around with that, and I think I actually got my microphone. Are you hearing me?
You cut out for just a second there.
Oh, I said I think I finally got my microphone working.
Oh, I don't know. It sounds a little off to me, but we might have to roll with it if it's what you got.
Now I've got all the buttons in front of me. Just tell me what you need from me, because I can't hear it.
Yeah, it basically just sounds kind of breaking in and out and a little bit overblown.
Okay. See, this is the great thing. We're learning as we go. Figure out which setting that is actually. Let's try this. Let me try this. Hold on. Okay.
Now, I think that's better. Yeah.
I think, okay. See how quick I learned?
There you go.
I had to actually.
Oh, I stopped hearing you again. I don't know if I'm having bad connection or if it's on your end. Am I coming through loud and clear? Oh, see, I can't hear you now. I can't hear you. Can't hear you at all. Okay. Rick says it's not me. It might be. I still can't hear you. Let's see. I don't even hear background audio. Oh, hello?
I'm switching to a different microphone.
Okay.
Now, I don't know if that's going to help. but I just went through the settings on my fancy microphone, which
Mm-hmm.
actually, the problem is I can't test it. I can test if it's working, and it was working. But
Hmm.
for some reason, it's not connecting real well with the software.
Interesting.
Is it working now?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Yeah.
It's okay. I think I'm actually on a different microphone source. I don't even think this is working. It looks nice, but I don't think it's even working. So
A little bit of you might want to, if you can reduce the sensitivity of your current new microphone just a little bit.
I can't. That one I
Okay.
can't adjust.
Okay. All right. Well,
No, the
then
question the
we'll have to
question
roll with it.
is, okay, did that work?
No, I didn't hear
Okay,
anything
see,
from
that's
that.
dead. That's dead. And the
Okay.
other microphone I can't adjust.
Okay. We'll have to roll with it then.
Huh. All right. Well, we've got a lot to talk about, and it's been a
Yeah.
fun week with things going on. Like I said, I've been super busy this week because we're counting down to the start of the high school football season. We've been finalizing some of our sponsorships. By the way, just a little hint here, we do have some nice sponsorships still available. If you'd like to help support our high school football broadcast, we would love to have you do that. Coming up
No
on the
question.
show today, by the way, we've got Colts, we've got Fever, we've got Padres Dodgers, big series, exciting game going on as we speak. We've got, of course, our early takes on high school football and give you an update on where we're going to be and what our schedule is going to look like. So, bottom line, glad to have you on board here with us on this Sunday. And what you didn't hear me say, Adam, is when I brought you in, I was hoping I was bringing you in along with a beautiful young Taylor Swift along your side. Of course, I say young, she'd be old to you. But I was hoping we'd have Taylor Swift so we could have like 130 million people tune into our podcast today. But apparently,
Uh, I think you have to book one of the Kelsey brothers if you want to get her to join your podcast.
could you believe the craziness? I mean,
Well, I mean, yeah, because it's one of the biggest celebrities in the world at this point. So I'm probably the biggest celebrity in the world at this point. So
probably the
yeah,
biggest following.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is she's announcing a new album and she picked that podcast to announce it. I mean, you want to talk about a little feather for the boyfriend. I mean, that's the ultimate for her to come on and announce the new album, show it for the first time, give the list of songs. I mean, she covered it all. And then, of course, the story that everybody wanted to know: how did this romance begin? What's the relationship like? Uh, I watched most of it. Okay, I found it posted on YouTube. Tried to watch most of it, but honestly, I was doing some other things. But I will say, for those that thought maybe it was a PR stunt, I don't think so. I mean, these two really have just fallen head over heels for each other. And she is totally enamored with everything he does. She has jumped in with both feet and she has learned football. I mean, she's talking about cover two, cover zero. I mean, she's talking some football language on that podcast. It was pretty impressive. And I thought, you know what? These two are totally into each other. This is not a publicity stunt.
That just means you bought it, Brett. That's how good it is. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm just
They
kidding.
they have done it so well that I have bought in.
They sent Taylor to offensive lineman school.
Yeah, when you go to a coach's clinic and you write down a few notes, throw out a few fancy phrases, everybody's like, "Oh my God, she's learned the entire game of football."
They'll love it. They'll eat it right up. No.
All right, so we don't have Taylor Swift on today's show, so I hate to disappoint those of you that are watching right now, but stay tuned, maybe in a future episode.
We'll try.
Who would, we should try to think, Adam, who would be the big celebrity that would even be a possibility for us to bring onto this show that could move the needle, that could I mean, we're not going to get 130 million or whatever it was that watch their podcasts. We are not out to break the internet, but it would be kind of fun to see if there's somebody out there that we have had. I'll let you think on that one. And if anybody's watching and wants to throw a comment, we've got comments open.
Oh yeah, let us know
Dustin's
who you want
already
to
thrown
see.
out a comment about high school football. Warsaw Snyder's the big game he's looking forward to this week. We are going to be in Leo for Bishop Lures and the Leo Lions. That matchup. We're going to have Snyder about 3 times this year.
Mm-hmm.
And, we understand Warsaw Snyder's an intriguing game, but also we have 9 weeks of football, and we didn't want to have Snyder on 4 of the 9 weeks. So we decided let's go to Leo. We don't have a lot of chances to get to Leo because once the SAC starts their schedule, there's a lot of intriguing matchups within the conference. So we decided week 1, it would be fun to go to Leo. You've got a Lures Leo matchup that should be intriguing. Both are good programs, good young head coaches. I call them young, but they're not as young as when they started, but both started very young at their respective programs. And for Jason Dorfler, it's not even his first gig. He started at Northrop, and he was 20-something years old, I believe, when he started at Northrop. And still a 30-something coach. And so he's doing a great job right now with Leo, and they're an intriguing team. They've got Nathan Foster, who's going to be one of the best area backs. Lures has some weapons that I know Kyle Lindsay was excited about. That's where we will be this coming Friday, week 1 of the high school football season. Hard to believe it is upon us. Of course, there were scrimmages on Friday. I could not get to the scrimmages, but I had a good excuse. I was hanging with Jay Peterman from Seinfeld.
Always a good excuse. Yeah, that was a fun night, I'm sure, for you out at the ballpark on Friday night.
You know, Seinfeld is my show. It is my favorite all-time show is Seinfeld. And what's yours, by the way, Adam? Do you have a show that would be your all-time favorite?
No, I'm one of those people.
Not that tough a question. You should be able to.
If it's so hard for me, then I probably don't have a favorite. Honestly,
Seinfeld for me was because I almost felt like when we watched those characters, there were similarities to that point in my life. You know, I was mid-30s when that show was on. The characters to me were relatable because they were in that same kind of demographic. So I don't know, just Seinfeld clicked with me. I guess I like to watch a show about nothing because that's pretty much what.
That's a lot of sitcoms.
It is pretty cool though to sit there and hang out with a guy in John O'Hurley who has hosted Family Feud.
That's where I know him from.
Is that where you know him from?
Yeah.
He's been on Seinfeld as Elaine's boss, and he's done a number of other things in his career. But to think, this guy, his job every week was to go hang with Jerry Seinfeld, Jason Alexander, Michael Richards, Elaine. I can't think of her name right now, her real name. But to hang out with these actors, actresses, and put together that 30-minute show that we watch each week and still watch. And pretty cool stuff. And he talked about how it was produced, how they came up with the script each week, and it was fascinating. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah, super cool, and it looked like all the fans that got to meet him had a good time too. So, another good job by the Tin Caps there.
All right, so we got to talk a little bit about the week before we start breaking down what we learned about Colts, Fever, and some other Northeast Indiana sports. But first of all, former Tin Cap Jacob Marcy. Not only was he off to a really good start in Miami already with the Marlins, and he was hitting close to 400, but what a game he had earlier this week on Wednesday night. He was against Cleveland. He was at one point 4 for 4. He finished the game 4 for 5, 2 home runs, 7 RBI. It broke a number of Marlins historic records. And at the end of the game, I think he was hitting somewhere near 440 in his 20 games or whatever he has played with the Miami Marlins. Unbelievable to think a guy that we watched here in Fort Wayne 2 years ago is now a record-breaking center fielder, and of course, not the first center fielder we've got in Major League Baseball. Has had a pretty good start to their career, but he's been unbelievable, and it's great to see some of the former Tin Caps have this kind of start to their career.
Yeah, I'll give you another one. How about Jack Sawinski's solo home run in the 9th inning to take a 3-2 lead for the Pirates over the Cubs? Did you see that?
I missed that.
There you go.
I got you. You got me on one. Padres, Dodgers. Right now it's 4-3 Dodgers. And I think they're in the 7th. Dodgers trying to sweep that series head-to-head against the Padres.
Yeah, help their standings.
And the Padres missed a golden opportunity last inning to perhaps get it tied or take the lead. Right now they've got a runner on with an out in the 7th. And so we'll see how that goes. Padres really need this one today. And then these same two teams hooked up next week, and somehow ESPN doesn't have either week as the Sunday night baseball game. I don't get that.
That's crazy. Yeah, maybe are they late? No, I guess not. No, that doesn't make sense. I don't know.
It doesn't make sense. It makes no sense. I don't get it. All right. Well, we've still got a lot to talk about. Colts and Fever. What a wild comeback today for the Fever, and we'll talk more about that coming up. But first, we want to bring in our guest for today's show. And, of course, it is the coach, Shannon Griffith.
What's up?
Look at that. Man, I'll tell you what, it looks like we just welcomed a head and a head only into our – that's kind of freaky. I see a head and a bunch of black background.
Yeah, it's just that big lens that I use, huh?
Yeah. No, I think I don't know if his mic can get turned up a little bit. His I know is a little flat.
How about that?
But anyway, better? Griff. Well, we're just about ready, Griff.
Yeah.
Coming this Friday. Off season's over. Hope you had a good Friday night because that's your last one you'll have for a while.
For a while. The talking season's over, as they say. So, yeah, it's. I was just looking over some things today about this year, and it'll be interesting this year just from the standpoint. I think there's going to be a lot of younger talent as opposed to, a lot of senior talent like we saw a year ago, for teams like Carroll and, of course, Snyder and such. But I think we're going to see a lot of young talent this year come into the fray on Friday nights.
That's interesting you bring that up because I was kind of thinking the same thing, that when I went through a lot of the teams, especially in trying to make recommendations for our weekly schedule and all, it's like I start with teams that have returning quarterbacks, and there aren't that many. Then I try to find the teams that come off exceptional years that I think are going to be at the top of their conference. And in my mind, we might see a little bit of a shift. Some of the teams that have been at the top might shift to maybe near the top, but maybe not be the top. But, we don't have a lot of big-time quarterbacks that are returning, which is always where I start. But I want to give our current schedule because I want to just talk about some of the games and when they'll be played, because these are the games we're currently planning on doing. Opening up with Bishop Luers at Leo, then we go to Carroll in week 2 because they got a big non-conference game against perennial state power Center Grove. That will be a good test for the Carroll Chargers, who get tested on week 1 by going down to Hamilton Southeastern. So they'll have 2 good ones to start the season. Then you've got the opener of the SAC schedule has Snyder at Bishop Luers. Now remember, a couple of years that Bishop Luers didn't play Snyder, and it kind of led to an advantage for Lures in winning the SAC a couple of years ago. Snyder at Lures starts the SAC slate. Then it's Bishop Dwenger at Carroll, Carroll at Snyder, Snyder at Homestead, and then October 3rd, Homestead will be at Carroll. October 10th, it may just depend on some of our area conferences. There's a couple of battles on October 10th, which is week 8.
Yeah.
Columbia City will be at Leo, and Adams Central will be at Bluffton. And I bet one of those is going to decide a conference championship, and we just don't know which one at this point. So stay tuned. And then October 17th, wrapping up the season, Bishop Lures will be at Carroll. So looks like some fun games and some different games this year than what we've had, because the SAC is going to that rotating schedule where you don't play everybody, but you play different teams every 2 years. So should be fun, but I'm kind of excited about the schedule, Griff.
Yeah, I think it'll be interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of teams as we go through the year that will pop on the scene as being teams that we maybe didn't think were going to be where they're at. You look at, Columbia City, I think is going to have a really solid team again this year. I believe East Noble's going to have a really solid team with Biddle back. He may be the best quarterback in all of Northeast Indiana at this point when you look at what he brings to the table. But that East Noble team, I think, may just reload every year, because I think they're going to have a really good team on top of that. And we'll see what happens with the likes of Snyder and Carroll without a Jimmy Sullivan that we've seen for 3 years. That's going to be a little bit different going into a Carroll game and not having Jimmy Sullivan as the starting quarterback. But, I think all the schools that we've talked to, or at least the ones that I have talked to since the Hall of Fame outing, the one thing that stuck out was how good their offensive lines are. I mean, a lot of schools made mention of that. So that adds another dynamic into the fray as well, is that good offensive line play usually leads to really good offensive play overall in the running game and a passing game because of protections and things of that nature. So Snyder, be interesting to see where they're at with everything. Homestead, they've got probably the most experienced quarterback in White coming back, the lefty that's going to Grand Valley State, I believe. So this is his, third year, I think, going to be the starter, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah,
so,
he started as a sophomore, so it's his third year.
So we'll see what type of jump he's made between those 2 previous years to this year in terms as a quarterback at Homestead. And there are going to be some young quarterbacks in the league this year when it comes to everything that involves that position. So it should be fun in that regard.
There's a number of teams I know, in talking to the coaches, that as of a couple of weeks ago still had a sophomore in the mix. Might have been a sophomore versus a junior, or, to fill that role. And so we may see some young signal callers this year. But one of the points you were making about the offensive line, and I find that fascinating, because I feel like for Northeast Indiana to compete with the Indianapolis schools, and that's always one of the questions I get regularly throughout the season, is how does Northeast Indiana compete with the powerhouses of Central Indiana? But we have done it at times. Snyder is a good example. But when that happens, it's generally play at the line of scrimmage. It's your trench against our trench, the battle of the trenches. And so, if this is a good year for line play with experience, size, strength, that may bode well for some of our teams when it comes to the postseason this year, because I feel we've been a little disappointed over the last couple of years. We get 1 or 2 teams that advance, but we always feel like, given that they only have to play the North until they get down to Indy, you almost feel like, well, there's 6 classes. At least 4 of them should have a team from our area.
Yeah, right. You would assume that would be a good proposition to bet on, but that doesn't always happen in that regard. But yeah, I think like you just said there, a team like Bishop DeWanger, for instance, who's kind of been teetering on being pretty decent. They always seem to stumble because of an injury here, injury there. They're a team that I think that everybody needs to keep an eye on. They've got a lot of their front 7 back on defense, and the defensive line and offensive line was good last year when we saw them play. And those kids are back. And then they got
when we saw them, Griff, they were to like their 3rd quarterback.
Yeah.
Because they had some injuries, and so, their season, I don't want to say got derailed, but certainly a major hurdle for them last year was having to kind of go through 3 quarterbacks in the matter of about 2 weeks, and it made it really tough for Dwenger last season.
Yeah, and their quarterback's returning, and hopefully they can keep him healthy. But I think we saw them, and it's all running together a little bit over the years, but I want to say we saw them, was it against Snyder that we had their game last year?
We saw them against Homestead, I'm pretty sure.
Okay. But I was impressed in that game.
We might have seen him against Snyder as well, but I was thinking we saw him against Homestead.
Yeah, it runs together so many times when you see some of these teams. But I was impressed with their offensive line a year ago, and the majority of those guys are back, and they've got a defense, too, that was pretty stout and kept them in games. And that's what enabled them to be close in a lot of games. Unfortunately, didn't necessarily come on top. But they're a team I think everybody's got to keep an eye on this year. I just think there may be a making there for them to kind of sneak up on some people and surprise some people this year based upon what they have returning. And again, there'll probably be a few Titmans running around the field as always. And if anybody saw the Jets origin story, they had Joe Tittman on this, I think it was like a couple weeks ago, but that was a very interesting take to talk about Tittman's running around the field, and they're saying about a third of the roster is Tittman's. So
all right,
he gets that. But yeah, I think we're in for, teams like that, like you said, that may have not been necessarily on the doorstep here the last couple of years, maybe be in a chance to be in the spotlight again this year.
Yeah, we kind of feel, I have felt like the last couple of years, Carroll was the team everybody had to beat, and a lot of that was because of Jimmy Sullivan. And, they had just enough players in other levels, defensive front, linebacker, safety. They had some studs out there, and they had just enough scattered throughout and enough in the receiving core that I thought that's a team that's going to be awfully tough to contain, hold down, and score enough points against to beat their offense. So I felt like the last couple of years it was easy to pick Carroll to win. This year, I don't know if I see a team that I can say that's the one everybody should be shooting for. I will say this. I found it very intriguing talking to Coach Tittman from Snyder, because when Snyder's been really good, the best Snyder teams, it has started with solid defensively. I don't want to say great, but solid. But offensively, they can wear you down physically. They have a great offensive line, and they've got at least a couple of running backs that can break big plays at any time. And that's exactly what they've got this year. Now, I don't know if they're at the level where they'll be able to do it against the opponents of today, but I'll say this. They are set up for a very Snyder-like season with the personnel they've got.
Yeah, I think they've got some bigger bodies that maybe they haven't had over the last couple of years up front for them. And you said it, the running back room is going to be very competitive. They've got at least 2, if not 3, that can rotate and be a factor in any ball game. They got to go up against Warsaw week 1, which I think that will be kind of a unique game for them to play in because of Warsaw's offense and what they like to do. But I think you're correct in the sentiment that it's a Snyder team that will be good on the front lines and pretty decent everywhere else as well. And if they can get the run game going, that just makes them even harder to stop, because then their play action bootleg stuff becomes, their passing game. And that's what they want to do.
Yeah.
I think the last couple of years they've gotten away from some of that due to the fact they just maybe didn't have the run game that they had in previous years. And I think this year they're pretty excited for what they have offensively, being able to run the ball.
All right, so I will tell you, I have projected, just because I want to put myself out on the limb so everybody can have a good laugh at the end of the season. So I went ahead before this season starts, and I went ahead and projected the final standings in 2 of the conferences.
Uh-oh.
Let's hear it.
I'll start with the NE8. And I just will say this. Once I got past the first 2 or 3, man, did I struggle to figure out who's really going to be 4th and who's 5th, and then who's 5th, who's 6th.
Right.
Really struggled. I didn't have a problem with 8th, and unfortunately, Belmont, I don't think you're going to make the climb out of that number 8 spot. And I mean, I'm not trying to insult you in any way, but that's the program has just not performed at the level of the others. But I've got Belmont number 8, and I'll surprise you with one, because they've disappointed me so many times. I'm going to hold it against them when I pick the standings, and it's New Haven. Because so many times I have put them in the top 3 and then been disappointed because they can't win the big one, and they end up losing 4 or 5 conference games. They end up in 4th or 5th place in the conference. So dang it, you're going to do that to me and embarrass me 3 years in a row. I'm going to pick you number 7, so New Haven is 7th in the
Some
NEA.
motivation for the Bulldogs.
Go ahead,
Right.
put it on your board in the line. I don't care. Number 6, Norwell Knights. Part of this just because I want Norwell to be competitive, because I think the whole conference is better when Norwell gets back in there and gives you a fight. And they've struggled here. Was it last 2 years?
Last couple of years, yeah.
Number 5, DeKalb. I want to see, and I put him in the middle because I want to see. I don't know.
Yeah, new coach.
New coach. I think they've got some players there.
Yeah, they've been better. That's for sure.
New seating stands. They've upgraded the football facility. I mean, let's go. Let's see what you got. Number 4, Huntington North. I think they might have gained a little bit of a confidence, swagger, and maybe some momentum. Now, I know they graduated a lot, and they're going to have a tough time doing it 2 years in a row. But that run last year in the postseason, hey, that's the way programs are built. That's the way you start to realize what it takes to be successful, and then you spend your off season trying to achieve that for the whole year this year. They were terrific in the postseason.
Yeah.
Got a couple of nice wins that we didn't expect. Number 3, I've got Columbia City. I've got Leo at number 2, and I have East Noble. Now, I will say this. It wasn't difficult for me to pick number 1. I just think East Noble is loaded. They're adding Austin Phillips, the freshman. He's going to make a ton of plays. It's a program that eat, breathes, and sleeps football. I mean, that community really supports their Knights. We've seen it firsthand in doing some shows up there. So I've got East Noble number 1 until somebody proves they can knock them off. That's my pick to win the NEA. All right. You guys go ahead and take your shots. I laid it out there for you.
Yeah, I don't think there's anything other than the fact that any one of those 3 that you put there in the top could win it. Between East Noble and Columbia City and Leo, when it comes right down to it. And that's who's been at the top all the last 3 years anyway, when it's come to it. And, it'd be interesting to see what Huntington North gets, and maybe get some new kids out, because maybe that run last year did enough to convince some guys that, weren't playing to come out and play because they've done such a really good job there last year. And from what I understand, did pretty decent against North. I think they played Northside the other night in the scrimmages and such. So got a couple quarterbacks there that they're battling to see who's going to be the first stringer. So you're kind of correct there with them. That's kind of one of those teams that you got to kind of keep an eye on because, you know, if they gain fire like they did in postseasons last year, you never know what could happen. And they're always tough to play at home.
You know, Griff, you're a coach. The coach is going to try to figure out how to use that as a springboard into next season and how to use it to recruit more players to come out and play it. I'm not meaning recruit going out to other schools before anybody starts commenting. I'm talking about just getting the kids that are walking your halls to play football, some of your better athletes. And that's why I say a finish like they had last year could be the start of building a better program. And I want them to show it to me, but yet I also feel that they've laid the groundwork for that to happen.
Yeah, no question on that. And they've got a great facility as well. And we were out there a couple of years ago when it just opened. But there's no question that they may have gotten some better players out of the hallways to come join them this year that we don't know about. And they could all of a sudden put a string together where they're becoming more and more competitive in that league. And that would be a good thing because Huntington North has had a tradition of pretty decent football through the years. And it'd be great to see them revive that mentality and create another East Noble type of situation there in Huntington North. And I wouldn't be a bit surprised if they did.
All right, let's get to the SAC. Here it comes. And once again, you can leave your comments. I reserve the right to delete them, but you can go ahead and leave them. All right, ready?
Ready.
10-team conference. I'm not going to divide it into big school, small school. I'm just going to give you the straight 1 through 10.
Straight answer.
All right.
And then we figure out who plays who's got an advantage in small division, all that stuff. But here's my 1 through 10. Number 10, Southside. And nothing against the Archers because I think the Archers could beat Concordia. I think the Archers, at some point, if they can get some upgraded facilities, and again, that's another situation where they just got to get the kids. They got to get the best athletes to play football. But I've got Southside number 10 because I couldn't put my cadets at number 10. That would be sacrilegious or something. So I got Concordia at number 9. At number 8, I put Wayne. And new coach coming over from Bishop Luers there at Wayne. Number 7, I've got Northrop. I put Northrop above Wayne. And I think it might just be a handful of athletes. If Northrop is healthy, I think there's a certain air of confidence with the Bruins. And a lot of times it's, a team like Northrop is not going to compete for the championship generally. Now, we've seen it every once in a while where all of a sudden somebody like Northside has surprised us a couple of times and things like that. But, and Wayne had a couple of years in the mid-20 teens where they had really outstanding years. But I do think Northrop is in a position that this could be their year to jump above some of the lower teams. In other words, we call them the best of the rest because there's usually the big 4 or 5 at the top, and then you've got the best of the rest. Number 6, I'm going with Northside. We'll see what happens, but they've slowly kind of developed, and if they get good line play and they stay disciplined, we'll see what they can do. But I've got them at 6. Luers at number 5. And again, it's nothing against Luers. It's just, do I think they can get the number of wins against the other 4 schools that the other 4 schools get? And I think they might be a game out of that pack. Because at number 4, I've got Dwenger. At number 3, I've got Homestead. At number 2, I've got Carroll. At number 1, I've got Snyder. And just because of the personnel, I think this is the type of year that Snyder succeeds. And with Carroll losing Jimmy Sullivan, I know they've got tons of talent coming back. Young running back returns. They've got the receiver from last year, and his name's escaping me right. Van Pelt, Jaden Van Pelt. And he's going to do some more things probably on the outside. He was a lot of times like almost a tight end slot. Now he'll have an opportunity to maybe get some more vertical opportunities. But again, you can't replace a Jimmy Sullivan, 3-year starter.
No, it's tough.
Big Ten talent, now at Iowa. So I've got Carroll number 2. All right, there you go. There's the SAC. Take your shots.
Yeah, I with Northrop, I think what'll be interesting about Northrop is, they got Guilford, who's the Ohio State commit, and Maddox, I think it's Wheel or Neal, I can't remember, who's also a 28 recruit, so he's only a sophomore. He's already got Michigan, Penn State, and Indiana. So when you talk about athletes, there's some athletes. 2 studs. Yeah, and then add D. Hogue into the equation there too, because he's out there now at Northrop, and Callison, the quarterback there, that's been a starter now for a couple years.
Well, and he got hurt.
Yeah, and he's another kid that can throw the ball pretty effectively. All of a sudden, does Northrop have the talent to be a spoiler in a game or two this year with that talent that they have? I think they can. It's just they've been unable to stop people over the last few years. That's
exactly. That's been the issue for Northrop.
Yeah,
too many shootouts.
Players that make plays, but defenses that just give up plays right back.
Give up big plays right back. And I really like DeWanger in that mix. I think they could be a team that maybe, right there at the end, competing for the championship this year. And I kind of agree with you this year. I do think Snyder, based upon the program itself, where it's at, and what they've got returning, especially on offense, I think they're going to be a very difficult team to stop week in, week out this year if they can remain healthy. And they've got a really good tight end, and they're just kind of setting up their offense for what they like to do, that power run game with the play action pass to the tight end and things of that nature. I just think they're in a position this year to have one of those years where they could run the table, honestly, in the SAC with Carroll.
Well, the pressure is on Snyder, Griff. Because they've got to have a really good year, so they'll sell seats to that big fancy stadium. Because
that's going to be. I'm interested to see that, because then we're finally going to have all Fort Wayne schools will actually have a home field for the first time in how many years? 50
with turf.
With turf, yeah. And that's going to be definitely that. First game next year there is going to be crazy, to say the least, and hope they have air conditioning in their press box.
I volunteered 2 or 3 times.
Yeah, I was going to say
press box for Zembo out there. He never took me up on it, and again, I told him that I was volunteering just to help with his press box design.
That's right. But. Carroll, like you said, with Jimmy being gone, I don't know how that's all going to play into them offensively. But them being a big school, they'll have somebody that we're just not fully aware of yet. Now, how much can he, take over that Jimmy Sullivan was able to do and spread it out maybe more so this year? We'll see. But, yeah, Dwenger, I like them a lot. And Northrop is kind of okay, let's see what they've got. Maybe they can pop it back into that. But after that, Wayne's always it doesn't matter who the coach at Wayne is. They're the ones that always seem to have that big win or two throughout the year, where they beat a Dwenger, or they, beat Lewers, or, a Snyder or Carroll at some point, just because they're just so much better athletes on the field. So I'm interested to see how that all transposes with the new head coach there. which I
Well,
was
and, and,
impressed
and I'll
with.
be honest with you, Griff. One thing that I kind of feel is Sherwood Haydock could coach. This isn't a situation where you're trying to build a program that was, in the basement. I
Right.
feel like, solid program. Maybe they didn't achieve some of the goals they had, but I don't feel like you're building Wayne from,
Mm-mm.
sub ground level. And so, the first year coach, the question is, what impact is he going to have? How will the kids adjust to the new coach? And, I guess it leaves me with some question marks. I think you're right. They could be one of those wild cards that could maybe find their way in the top five, but they've got to prove it to me with a new
Yeah.
coach. Got to see it.
Yeah, of course. But you're right. They're not going to be necessarily hurting for players per se. And the one school that probably out of last year that I'm anxious to see if they can improve and get back on track is Homestead, because they're the ones that have kind of been really, in some respects, down, I guess you
I
could
think
say.
they've had 3 straight years at 5-5. They've
Yeah.
not had a losing record, but they've not had a winning record. They're
Yeah.
5-5, I think, 3 years in a row now.
Yeah. And I think, that to me is kind of the biggest question. Can they get themselves back on track to be a team that in the SAC can be a dominant force and, kind of take the mantle away from Carroll, because it's almost like they've switched sides now. Carroll's been the one that's been on the upside and upswing, and Homestead kind of went on the back end of that, of the two newest teams that had joined the SAC. So, but I do think it's going to be a competitive year in the SEC just because of the younger talent. You don't have that dominating foe per se.
Rick Longsworth brings up a very good point that I failed to mention, that hopefully Snyder does have a elevator to the press box.
That's a good one.
It is good.
People ask me, why is Carroll on so much? Well,
Not because they're good, but
It's because they can
no,
get up,
the
down.
two things that have a definite impact: the ease with which it is to get to the press box, and the food that is offered. Those things, they're very enticing when we're putting our schedule together. I can't remember last year's quarterback, but I can remember what was on the buffet.
That's
So,
right.
yeah. Um, all right, Griff, we got to ask you real quick while we've got you about
Yep.
IU.
Oh,
Before we get to football, I want to ask real quick that the basketball team just got back from Puerto Rico. A
yeah.
couple of really impressive wins there. What did we learn about Coach DeVries and this year's edition of the Hoosiers in their 3 games in Puerto Rico?
Throw out the first one because that wasn't I guess, an equal talented bunch to what Indiana had on the court, but that Siberian mega super bet team.
I think
What?
Serbian.
Serbian. I can't remember what I said.
Siberian.
Siberian.
They're
Serbian.
wearing their fur parkas. Yeah.
Yeah. They, that's an NBA turning out of players into the NBA over the years. Those 2 games, Indiana was down in both of them. One, that second game, I think 24 at one time. And I've never seen a team go on a 70-19 run in my lifetime
Against a really good team.
against a really good team. And then in the final recap, they trailed the vast majority of that ball game only to kind of steal it in the last few minutes. So I think you got a team that won, fairly competitive, scrappy, I guess you could call it. Stuck around, hung around, and found ways to win, which I don't necessarily think you could say that about Indiana over the last few years. And it seems to me that they've got a pretty good chemistry boiling out right now, and still some time to really hone in on a lot of things. But I don't know if lacking a true big man will actually hurt them in the long run or not. I don't know. But the way they played in those couple games, it sure didn't seem to be a factor, and when it's all said and done. And
Well, I don't think you need to worry about a big as long as you can rebound. And if you've got guys that are 6'6" committed to rebounding, okay, you should be all right. today's game doesn't necessarily require Kent Benson to be showing up on campus.
Right. Well, yeah, you know it is well as anybody. It's a mindset, and it's a technique and positioning more so than anything. And that's one thing I think that Coach DeFries does pretty good. I think he's pretty good on the fundamentals and expectation of scrappiness on defense and movement on offense. And so that is one of the things that I think might propel them to be a team that can really flip a switch from what they have been to a team that is fun to watch and be around.
I got to ask your opinion on this. Dane Fife has stayed relatively quiet up to this point.
Yeah.
And he's finally decided to speak. He actually went on X and posted, "I struggled to tolerate ineptness, laziness, and yes men. I did not belong there under those circumstances. My mistake is owned by me. Impulse and passion, I trusted blindly, doing no due diligence." That's pretty sharp criticism of the previous coaching staff, particularly Mike Woodson.
Yeah, considering that I think Fife was maybe pushed upon Woodson as well by some of those around Indiana. There was a distrust from the get-go because, you know, they had Thad Matta was going to be there as kind of the overseer of the program, and that never kind of sunk together. And then you mentioned Dane and what he went through. I mean, he was there for a cup of coffee and gone. And
I think, too, Mike Woodson may have felt Dane Fife was there to become the next head coach.
Perhaps.
And, you know, and so you always feel like when the guy that's there to support you would rather be you, it can be a little difficult in the relationship.
Well, yeah, no question. And then Thad Matta as well, and his foray in college basketball world, even though he wasn't a threat because of the numerous injuries that he's had with his back. Me and him, we relate well to each other. But, yeah, there's no love lost there between Dane and Woodson at all. And maybe rightfully so. I mean, you can't sit there and say now that insight was kind of true in some respects about how the seasons have unfolded under Woodson.
Well, you know, what I've known about the situation and how I understood it is that, you know, Mike Woodson came from an NBA system. He didn't know how college worked as far as how the player development worked, how the practice planning worked. There were a lot of ins and outs of college basketball. And when you have somebody who has spent their life in college basketball that's trying to help you, and all you think is that's insulting to you and your intelligence, and you feel threatened by it, it truly breaks down any semblance of a relationship.
Right.
And to me, that's the best way I can explain it, is there just was never much of a relationship. And, you know, you almost had to have a mediator there who Woodson would trust, that would say, yes, let's do it this way. But as Dane posted, everybody else on that staff was never going to challenge Mike Woodson.
No.
If Woodson had a position and Dane had a position, the rest of the staff was on Woodson's side.
Yeah.
And, you know, I kind of feel for Dane, and I think Indiana's in a better position now. I was kind of hoping, and I know I brought this up before, that Indiana would consider Dane Pfeiffer an assistant on Darian DeVries' staff, and I don't know if that was ever brought up or considered, but I thought it wouldn't be the worst idea. And maybe that will eventually happen, although I know Dane is doing quite well in the insurance industry.
Yeah, sometimes when you're out of coaching for a while and you're doing well in the other world of the real world, so to speak, sometimes it's harder to go back to the world of every paycheck is counted on by the 18-year-olds running around the court who are making more money than you as an assistant nowadays.
What do I need to know about Indiana football? Give it to me. We got a couple of weeks before Old Dominion comes to town to take on the Hoosiers. Year 2 of Kurt Signetti's regime. How does it live up to year 1? What's the state of the Hoosiers right now?
Well, right now I think they're fine. They're going through camp so far. No major injuries that I know of. An offensive line that I think will be better than they've had in a long while with depth. They go about 6'4", 6'6" across, 300 and anywhere from 315 to 325, which is a true looking Big Ten offensive line. And then, of course, the skill they have on offense is pretty darn good, too, with Surratt and Cooper and E.J. Williams, to name a few. And then in the running backfield, you got Hemby, you've got Black and BB, who came in from UAB. So those three on top. And then defensively, I think they got the answers they needed up front with some of the kids they brought in for, losing C.J. West. You've got Kamara back. You got Fisher back. And then in the secondary, with Pons back, and it looks as if now they're going to keep their safety in there, who went through the NCAA ringer this past week with some legality issues about his eligibility that finally came to fruition, that looks like he's going to, Lewis Moore, who was there for 3 years, went to Ole Miss, came back, is going to get to play. Their secondary will be better probably than they were a year ago. So if they can stay healthy and pick up the momentum, and with Mendoza as the quarterback, I do think there'll be a team that will be there ready to rock and roll come Big Ten season. But they go Illinois, Iowa, Oregon for games 4, 5, and 6, and that's probably going to tell us where Indiana will be heading into that final 6 weeks of the season.
Griff, I talked on the show before you joined us that I got to hang with Jay Peterman from Seinfeld.
Oh, wow.
And I told Adam how much fun that was Friday, because he was there for Seinfeld night. And I said it was fun for me because Seinfeld is my favorite all-time show. And I'm not saying that just because we had Seinfeld night. I have said it for years for anybody who's followed me on my programs. What's your favorite all-time TV show?
Well, that would be one of them right there, because that was in the era that we grew up. So it kind of
that's exactly what I said. I said I could relate to the characters because I was about their age.
Yes, and even when it went out of, into syndication and stuff, my remote seems to find that channel that they're on, that I'm watching it again. It's just one of those shows that always gripped you, no matter where you were at or what time it was on. You just kind of get glued to it, and you can just, I remember this one, the Soup Nazi, or, all the different shows that, yeah, exactly. The classic lines that we remember from that, so for those older than us, they probably like The Office in the same genre that we like Seinfeld,
right,
in that regard. So, but yeah, that would be mine as well.
All right, Griff, appreciate you. Go have a great Sunday night, and we'll run into you on Friday.
Yep, be ready. Let's go.
We'll definitely be looking for you.
All right, partner.
Take care. Thanks. That is
all right.
Adam, you're back.
I'm ready for high school football now.
Yeah, fired up. Got it all going on.
It's nice all these high school teams know who their quarterback's going to be, unlike the NFL team known as the Indianapolis. Still waiting, Steichen. Still waiting.
Yeah, we got to talk about that. Of course, there's going to be some fans that are going to start saying, well, Riley Leonard looked better than either one of them. And, but
give Riley a chance.
I will say that Riley Leonard may have completed the most impressive pass of the night, and it didn't count because the official somehow looked at the replay and couldn't see what the whole world was looking at, which is 2 feet down and a football move. I don't know what more you need. He had 2 feet down and he turned for the pylon. That should qualify as a catch. Not sure why it wasn't, but the Colts lose. And really, they never should have been in that position. The Colts were playing primarily starters for the first half, most of the first half, and Green Bay never put starters on the field, and the Colts still lost at home.
Yeah.
Didn't finish drives. That's the problem, Adam. Didn't finish drives. Had to settle for field goals.
You know who did finish a drive was Anthony Richardson.
But do you think that's the difference?
I don't know. Is it? I mean, because you're looking at 7 of 11 from Daniel Jones and 6 of 11 on the touch, and then the touchdown drive from Richardson. I don't know.
I don't think we got any separation, did we?
It's just the same thing it's always been. So far, I mean, like, you're getting slightly less accuracy from Richardson, but maybe an explosive play, and you're getting a little bit more consistency from Jones.
I mean, Richardson does have he completed that deep ball that didn't count because of the stupid penalty on Adonai Mitchell.
Yeah, I'm scared.
Line up. I mean, you see the receivers when they go and line up. They look at the official on the side. They check with them to make sure they're okay. I mean, you eyeball it. You check with the official. There is no excuse for lining up offside as a wide receiver. And he did it. And I saw people on Twitter complaining that, or on X, complaining that he should be cut right away. He's had a pretty good camp. He still has the occasional drop, but that was inexcusable. That's, drop happens, but that can happen.
Just get it out of the way now. Don't let it happen in the regular season.
But yeah, nothing to me has been defined or decided. I kind of feel like what I've seen from these two quarterbacks, if you think this year is your year, that you've got a legitimate shot to make a run in the playoffs and maybe even win a playoff game, if you believe that, you need to play Daniel Jones. I just think he gives you more consistency. I think there'll be a greater trust factor that when you need a play down the stretch, he'll be able to make it. He won't make dumb decisions trying to protect a lead or, anything like that. I just feel like the trust factor, the consistency is an advantage Daniel Jones. If you believe next year is a better year for you than this year, and what you need to see is what you talked about a year ago, which was growth and development at the quarterback position, then you probably will have to play Anthony Richardson, because that's the only way Chris Ballard and perhaps Shane Steichen keep their job, is if you play Anthony Richardson and you can see signs that he is developing and going to be the guy you want him to be by next season. But at this point, I don't have a favorite. I see both sides as to why each guy could and would play, but it's not like I feel better about one and feel worse about the other. When they make the decision, I'll go, oh, okay, we'll watch Daniel Jones, or oh, okay, we'll watch Anthony Richardson. But I don't think it moves the needle all that much for me to go crazy about.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I would like them to see them go the route of just giving Anthony Richardson that one more year, because I feel like that shows for the franchise you're ready to finally figure out, is this where we're going, or do we need to reset and start with a clean slate? I think the new Irsay daughter owner, I think if she wants to get serious and then start building from the ground up with the franchise, you do need to find out what you have with Anthony Richardson. It can't be, this constant cycle of, the mid backup quarterback coming in and competing or taking over if Anthony Richardson doesn't look good. You have to find out what you have and then build from there. So I'm hoping that's what we see.
You know what's funny is your microphone just did the same thing you told me mine did earlier. It just kind of cut. Yeah, so maybe it's something to do with the software, because it happened for All right, Major League Baseball today. Cubs got a big win over the Pirates, 4-3. Nice. Marlins with Jacob Marcy, who we talked about earlier, the big 2-run homer in the 9th inning. He was 2 for 2 today and had a 9th inning 2-run homer to lead the Marlins to a win at Fenway against the Red Sox. Marcy stays hot.
Wow.
And the Reds ended the Brewers' 14-game winning streak.
Yeah, finally.
In extras, 3-2, a walk-off at Great American Ballpark, and the Reds finally have broken through and ended that streak. Dodgers ended up winning at 5-4 over the Padres. Dodgers complete the sweep. But also today, man, the Indiana Fever just so snake bit. And they've picked up a couple of players because of the injuries to Ari McDonald and Sidney Colson. But they get a couple of players that were sitting on the sideline. They have to bring them in and get them up and running rather quickly. Now, did you see what happened to Sophie?
I did not see it, but I heard that she went down with an injury.
The player fell and her momentum took her right into the lower leg of Sophie Cunningham, who immediately dropped to the court and was crying out in pain. She had to get assistance to get to the locker room. And, you see a play like that, and it's one of those dreaded, oh no, is this, where the knee got caught and buckled up. And that's the kind of season it's been for the Fever. I mean, think about it. They've been through almost everybody in their top 6 in the lineup that's been out injured.
Yeah.
And then when they bring players in, they end up injured. But what a win for the Fever today. Without Sophie Cunningham, who's been in the starting lineup, they are down to Connecticut in that first half. Did it ever get to 20? I think it was like 19 at halftime, and a miserable first half by the Indiana Fever. Miserable first half. I mean, they were awful. They were down at halftime 48-29. And outscored the Sun at Connecticut, outscored them by 8 in the third quarter, and then outscored them by 11 in the fourth. They got it tied, forced overtime, and then dominated the overtime behind Kelsey Mitchell, who finished with 38 points. Fever with a big win with a very short-handed lineup, a lineup of players that couldn't even make a roster. And the Fever are having to start them or play them significant minutes just because they're so low on guards, point guards. They've tried Sophie at the point guard. But I'll tell you right now, you don't want to be a point guard for the Fever. All it is a big target on your back that you're going to end up injured.
Right.
Caitlin Clark, out. Ari McDonald, out. Sid Colson, out. I mean, one after another, they've lost point guard after point guard. And this Odyssey Sims, this really says something. You pick up an Odyssey Sims who's out of basketball, had played for like 6 or 7 different teams in the WNBA, and today in a big game, she was forced to play 42 minutes. 42 minutes.
Yeah, good
That's
game,
almost every minute of play because they only play 40 in the 4 quarters. 42 minutes, scored 19 points on 6 of 13 shooting, 7 assists, 4 rebounds. I mean, she can't really know the offense other than what she's been able to see on video and some basic patterns, but unbelievable. Great performance by the Fever. Huge comeback. I'm sure John Nolan was thrilled to be able to call that, because the funny thing was when I looked at the score at halftime, I was at the Tin Caps game, and I turned to Jaden during a break, and I said, oh, it looks like John's having a fun afternoon.
And he did end up having a fun afternoon.
Yeah, it was 48-29. I thought John's having the same kind of day we are, but we didn't have to travel to Connecticut to do it. And then what do you know? The Fever turned it around.
Yep. So hopefully it isn't anything too serious for Sophie. They say she's scheduled for an MRI tomorrow morning.
All right. So here I've got somebody that's trying to help me with high school picks, trying to do an audio version that gets presented on a video screen through the YouTube channel. So I am going to try to get an edition out this week. We'll see how that goes, but please bear with me. But try to get the high school picks out, and then join us Friday. Our schedule, we can make it official now because I don't think they can change it again. We'll start with the Parkview Sports Medicine High School Football Tailgate pregame show, 6 o'clock at the stadium with the game of the week. And that means this week we will be up in Leo Jim, Shannon, and Doot previewing all of the night's action, SAC, NE8, ACAC, Northeast Corner Conference, pointing out some of the bigger matchups, some of the biggest games. That will be from 6 to 6:50. Then it's up to the booth, and Shannon and I, again, will have your coverage for the 15th year. Well, it's 15 for me. I think it's like 9 for Shannon, 8 or 9. I'll have to ask him because I'm really not sure. But Shannon Griffith will join me for the play-by-play of Lures at Leo. After the game, we still have the post-game at Pizza Hut, but Adam won't be there. I will be. Adam will be in a plush new studio.
Yep.
That really isn't ready yet, but they're going to put you there anyway.
That's okay. We got our backdrop. I saw our backdrop, so we're good to go.
They've got a TV screen behind you that works. It's a big TV screen. Actually, what do they call? What are they? It's a curved. It's not a TV screen.
Monitor.
It's a backdrop. It's kind of like what you'd see on a television studio. A TV set, right?
All right. Yeah, no, it looks good.
It's like a 6 or 8 foot screen that goes across behind Adam. It's a pretty cool setup. That'll be where the H&K Chevrolet of New Haven high school football scoreboard will originate. And then I will be talking to coaches live from Pizza Hut. This week we will be at the Pizza Hut at the corner of DuPont and Tonkel, and we hope you stop by and see us after the game. We will be on until 11 o'clock. Scores, highlights, coaches, interviews, and more. And big thanks to Kester's Truck Sales. They are our sponsor of our post-game show this season.
Awesome.
And of course, Midwest Box Breaks, the sponsor of our game of the week. Always great. Ben Smith is one of those guys that cares so much about local sports in our community and tries to do whatever he can to make things better for the Comets, the Tin Caps, Fort Wayne FC. He's right there. And he has supported our high school broadcasts for a couple of years now, and we have to give him a big shout out as well. All right. I'm gonna have a podcast coming up with a breakdown of the roster of Purdue Fort Wayne. Now that we've seen them over a summer, we're going to get a breakdown, my opinion, and the opinion of someone that really does matter, Coach John Kaufman.
All right. Awesome.
He's on one of those little vacations. He only has like 2 times a year that he can take a couple of days off, and he's on like a 3 or 4 day vacation. It used to be able to go for like a week or 2 at a time. Now with transfer portal and recruiting and NIL, everything that coaches have to be involved with, those 2-week vacations are like 2-day vacations.
Yeah, rapid stuff going on.
So I talked to Coach last week, and we're going to get that together. And hopefully by the time we're able to talk to him, we'll also have the majority of the non-conference schedule to talk about. A number of the games have been announced, and hopefully more will be announced here soon. All right, we got to finish this up. We ran long tonight.
Hey, it happens.
I think it's going to happen as we get into football season, Adam.
Yeah, a lot to talk about.
With Notre Dame, IU, Purdue, Colts.
Yeah.
Then you'll have the Pacers getting underway, and of course high school football. We're still going to be the one to tell you about what's happening with high school football. So appreciate you, man. Have a great week.
All right. See ya.
And I'm going to try to see if I can do this because I usually, there we go. See? Figured it out. All right. Wrapping it up. Thanks for watching. Make sure before you go, you subscribe. And if you can give us that thumbs up, to give us a like and share the channel with your friends, we would certainly appreciate that. We're going to continue to grow and build new content each and every week, sometimes multiple times during the course of the week, and sometimes just during our live show on the weekend. But for those of you that joined us tonight, we certainly appreciate you. This video will be posted. The video of the live show will be posted on our video section on YouTube. YouTube is the central platform to follow. And then also you can pick us up, as you may have found tonight, either through X or on Facebook. But Have a terrific Sunday night. Look forward to talking to you again sometime soon. Let's go. High school football just around the corner. Let's go.